Hello, welcome to the Warren County Library from my home. I'm Mary Ellen. I'm back here because it's Thursday, and on Thursday we do arts and crafts from the library. Today we're going to do watercolors for relaxation, and what I'm going to start with is just give you a little bit of background about how I'm going to do this class. I have been practicing some relaxation skills myself during this time, and I thought I'd share some of them with you. So you know that we're all trying to adjust to this new normal that we have, and this is something that is not normal for any of us. And experts are telling us that there are lots of things we can do to minimize our anxiety at this time. So some of the things we can do, we're all working from home. As you know, we always work from home. But we're also working at work and at home, and more at home than ever. So you've got to remember to take a break. Take a break once in a while, check your breathing, relax, and what could you possibly do to relax? What you might want to do is take 10 minutes and do a watercolor. You might want to allow yourself some alone time. I know it's very difficult in this quarantine time to be closed in the house with your whole family. It's not a normal thing to do 24 hours a day, so carve yourself out some alone time, and one of the ways you can do that is separate yourself and do something that's good for your spirit. So I think this is one of those things that might be. Establish small goals for yourself. Maybe take a walk every day. Maybe do something creative every day. All of these things will be good for your spirit and help you prioritize your own health and your own mental well-being while we're closed in like this. So that's why I had this idea to do watercolors for relaxation. I'm not an expert in watercolor by any means, and you'll see that as we go along, but we'll do the best we can. I did want to not forget to show you what we did last time. People wanted to see the finished vase made from the paperback book. So here it is. And I'm very happy with this round shape. It looks kind of cool when you turn it like this. So I just wanted to show you that so you know that it did get completed. And I also wanted to mention, Eileen, what I wanted to mention to you was next time we're going to do the folded book heart. And that is folding the book into the shape of a heart like this. So what you'd need is a hardcover book that's not too big, probably about 260 pages, maybe 300 pages, and we'll be able to fold that next Thursday. All right. So if you have your paints ready and you want to start painting without me, you may do so. I'm going to talk just a little bit before beginning to say that you don't need special watercolors to do a nice job with watercolor painting. What you probably do need is a little better quality than your regular cardstock. So I'm showing some 140 weight paper, and this is a cold pressed paper that you can get. You can get it in Walmart or any Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And if you want to spend a little bit more, you can get a brand like this. Hello, Elizabeth. Hi, Kathy. Oh, I'm glad to see some folks are visiting with me today. If you want to spend a little bit more, you can get this. And if you really got the dough, you can buy some paper like Fabriani or Arches even. I have never sprung for that. Maybe someday I will, but you will really see a difference in the different papers that you use. So some of the projects I've tried for myself is doing the same exact painting using different grades of paper. And that's another way too that you can see that you can improve your work by using better supplies. If you are looking for what type of brush to use, I would suggest trying a round brush. I have brushes here, 3, a 5, a 4. What you basically want is a brush that is round here and comes to a sharp point, because then you can get to the little pointy areas, all right? So I will mention that. So I think what I'll do is come down into this box and turn my camera around so we can maybe start a little bit of painting while I'm talking to you. So let me move my. All right. So one of the things that these, if you notice on the Facebook, I did give a list of the our Pinterest board where I have put a board up of watercolors for relaxation, and it'll point you to a lot of these different techniques. One of the things is to do repetitive shapes. So if you were to start doing circles, you might be able to just do an abstract picture with circles upon circles upon circles. So I started one here. Another repetitive shape that you might do would be, I can remove these things. Sorry, my camera is a little bit in the wrong place. Having a little trouble with that. I'm sorry. Well, in any case, I don't know why I'm having this problem. Oh, I'm glad you're a beginner too, because I am a beginner as well. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to do a change-a-roo of my camera for a second, because I have put my iPad in backwards. Let me put it the right way. This ought to save things. Oh, and now I'm going to be upside down. I'm back again. Fourth time is the charm. Technical difficulties happen to everyone, and today was my day. So welcome back to my kitchen, and I'm going to step right into doing some painting with you. I hope you've stayed with me. I hope you found me again, and I'm going to start to do some painting, and I hope some folks can jump on and find me. I'm so sorry that this has happened, but this is live television, right? What can I say? I'm going to move my camera down to my hands so we can see what's going on in front of me, and let's see how this goes. Sliding down. All right. So one of the things that's suggested is to do repeated patterns. And repeated patterns could be as simple as lines like this. So I'm going to take a little bit of water, and note that my palette can be very dry, and all I need is a little bit of water to regenerate what's going on in my palette. So let's see, put a little bit of more water in there, and you can see that I can place a line here. Let's get a little bit more color so you can see it. And you can watch your color perhaps bleed into the next color and find out what kind of effect that has, if you like that effect in your painting. Now, this could go on indefinitely across your page, and it really can make a beautiful abstract picture that you could use. Something that works a lot for in this type of situation is doing circles. So here's a page where I've done a whole bunch of circles. And sometimes you can see how the one circle will start to bleed into the next circle. And that will depend upon the quality of your paper and how much water you're using, and whether you are going wet into wet, or if your brush is quite dry or your paper is quite dry. So here's a a sample of how you might do the circles. Excuse me. I have drawn some circles on with objects that I found around the house. This is because I am a beginner as well, as some of you are. I'm sure some of you are much better painters than myself. And I find if I draw a pencil line around something, then I can fill in the shape and practice my painting better in a more relaxed manner, because I know I'm really, really not an expert in doing so. So I've taken some of those normal items from around my house, and I've put some pencil so that I can follow those shapes. So let me move my palette over here so you possibly can see it. I'm actually working inside of a box so that you can see my hands down here. So let me add some water. I will add some nice orange here and show that if one of the circles is dry and you begin to paint, get some more water in this brush. I may even get a larger, I'm going to get a larger brush and start to paint on top of another color. You'll begin to see that those two colors will layer. That's called glazing. And when they layer, they'll actually make another color. So that's something you might learn when you're doing this circle activity. So this color is different than this color and is different from this color. So I think that's kind of a nice little experiment to try with some other colors and see what you come up with when you do layer colors. So here's a picture, a painting with a paint that is a primary red color, and as I layer it over here, you can see that it is making another color here when it's layered. Now, what you might want to do is try some shading by adding a little bit of a darker, a more pigment-filled bit of your brush, or actually use a dry brush and remove some of the pigment to get a look like that. So I think the circle activity is something that you could sit and do and just kind of turn your mind off. I think that it's the type of thing that will help regulate your breathing and really bring you to a better state of relaxation than when you started this activity. So here we go with a little bit darker. To see what it looks like if you have a little shading, you might come back and clean it up a little bit. And you can see how you begin to make something that is rather interesting. I'll try mixing some of these shades together. I did some purple and some blue, and that's quite dark. I might add a little water. Not exactly planets, but a very interesting test and a way to play with your watercolors. Now, if I made another circle and connected it with this purple one, the purple will probably bleed into it a little bit, and that will leave an interesting effect as well. So the circle activity can really take you away from your day, from what's going on, and cause you to really kind of have a good time. So try putting a yellow circle right here next to this blue one. So I just started out with some pencil circles and then moved along to making some without the circle minders. It just was a way of getting me to start, because I'm a little bit afraid to make a mistake. I'm a little bit afraid to have it not come out nice, and I'm a little too involved in that. And really, I have to become a little more free in working with my watercolor, because the people who do a really good job with their watercolors are very free. So you can see if you have a light side, it makes it look like the light is coming from this side. You might take a little bit of red and mix it with that green, which would be its complementary color, which is its opposite color, and darken this side with a little bit of green, and that would give it a little bit of more of a three-dimensional look. So I hope there's some folks watching. If there are, I hope you can comment. If not, I hope you're there and you can't comment and you're just so busy with your watercolors that I don't even know that you're there. But I'm just going to keep on talking. I'm so sorry that I had the camera difficulty, but you know what? It happens to everyone, and that shouldn't stop us from having a good time this afternoon. So let's hope that some folks can still find me. So actually, these circles don't look half bad. Ultimately, you can go back. Now, if you have the more expensive paper, I'll tell you, they can go back and really scrub out things that they don't like in the picture. This is kind of a, a school level paper because I consider myself as just learning and I'm not spending, that much for a sheet. If you did want to buy the super expensive paper, what's good to know is that you can buy it in separate sheets in stores like Hobby Lobby has it. So you could buy one sheet of paper and then cut it up into small bits. And that would be something way that you could afford it, because maybe you really only want to do a small painting anyway. So what I focused on in my relaxation exercise was hearts, because that had a curve, it had a point, and I thought, oh, this is a good way to focus and learn some things that I need to learn about doing my watercolors. So as you can see, I did some hearts, and the way I made a regular pattern for my hearts was I just took a piece of paper and drew a half heart shape on and cut it out. And once I cut it out, then I had a heart shape that I could trace onto my folded paper and cut them each out in a regular pattern. And when I opened this up, I then had a stencil. So what I did was I made pencil lines on my watercolor paper so that when I sat down to practice, I didn't really have to think about the shape of the heart anymore. I just had to go and get my paint and start painting. So these hearts, you can see I tried doing some with a light on one side, dark on the other. I tried adding a different color. So obviously this blue one, I added some yellow. This I have the purple and the blue. So this was quite fun to do and took me several days of just taking a little time and going and sitting by myself and doing some painting. After I did that, I got the idea of why not take my palette and paint out a heart in each of the colors that's in my palette. This is a great exercise for someone who's beginning, because what you end up with then is a painting that has each of your colors highlighted in it. So later, if you knew you wanted to paint something and you wanted it exactly that blue, you would know from your palette that that's the one that you have. So I wrote the title of my paint right here on the bottom of the page, and I can even go back and write the name of each color at it so that I would be able to duplicate that color somewhere else. If you note, what I also tried in this was having the light white space on the one side and the dark space on the other side to try to give it a three-dimensional look. And I'm pretty pleased with how they turned out. I think they came out pretty well. And if you saw the flyer for this class, this was this page that I used as the flyer. So what you might want to do is try it in a smaller form. If you cut your watercolor paper out into pieces about this size, is a really nice size to make a card. So what you can see here is I've begun painting some of these same heart shapes. And let's see, I'm going to grab the medium-sized brush, and I'm just going to grab a little bit of this blue, which is a turquoise blue, and start painting it right here. So I have it very, very watery. And it's very hard for me to see where I am because I am under the camera. So that is a very basic wash of a pale color of that paint. Now if I wanted to make it a little darker, I could add a little pigment like so, and see how it grows and spreads into that heart shape. I keep going back to grab a little water or dry off my brush a little. I have found that I use a little bit too much water sometimes, and I'll have to dry my brush and come back with a dry brush to suck up some of that water. But you can see how, depending how intricate you want to get and how much you want to change the look of things, how you would continue to do something like this. If I added a little bit of yellow at this point, here this is going to become green. Sometimes what you might want to do is take a heat gun and dry what you're working on and then add another color and see what effect that has. So I hope that you'll try some of these things at home when you're doing your watercolors. What I like to do is know that when this is done, it will fit a card, and whether I write happy birthday on it or you know, missing you or something like that, I'm not wasting the fact that I was practicing my watercolor. So I will take that away and show you something else you might want to try. One of the things you might try is when you find something that you like that's someone else's drawn, you could try your version of it. And so this was one that I had done before, and with a Pigma Micron pen, you might draw the shape first. Again, this is like what I was doing before, where I'm almost creating my own coloring book by drawing the lines first and then filling them in. It's not what a real watercolor artist would probably do, but heck, it works for me. So what I might do here is have a very, very thin, let's try this red. We'll try a very, very thin color for these. Very, very pale pink. And basically what I'm doing here is wetting the paper and adding just the littlest bit of color. So I'm going to come along here. And since it's almost Mother's Day, this one could come in handy, right? I may have already made a card like this last year. I'm not sure really what I sent Mom, but she might not remember if I already sent it to her. And once it's damp like that, and I get a little bit more color on my brush, I can then touch the base of the flowers and let that color bleed up into the flower and gives a more natural look. It's kind of hard to talk while you're painting. I kind of want to just do it. I think that looks pretty good. I missed a couple of these flower heads here. Very, very watery paint. Here's another one that's hiding here behind. But I think it's quite effective to just do the tiny little dot. Let's get rid of this too much water here, and you see I'm actually drying up the water. I think that's really quite effective. And so you can see how simple that was to do when I already have the lines there. Now I might want to make these leaves green
kind of a bright green. But I think that's kind of a fresh, fun green. We'll want to do the heart down here by Mother's Day to match my flowers. See, now I think the picture that I just did is much nicer than the one that I have on the left because it's a lot more subtle. But I actually think that means I must be learning a little bit something along the way. And I got to give a lot of credit to the watercolor artists on YouTube and on Pinterest who share their work. They teach classes, but they also share their work for free for many of their videos. So please visit them and give them your attention because they do good work. Now I happen to have a heat gun, so I'm going to dry this. What I really want to dry is the jar. Because I don't want the stems to have a mix in with that green. So let's get a nice bottle green color. Well, I hope some folks are with me. I have not seen any comments happening. So I'm hoping that it's going out. It's telling me that it's live. So let's hope that it's actually happening because from this area where I am, it's completely difficult to see if anyone can see what I'm doing. Okay. Well, there's my bottle green. And I really wish it was a little bit lighter. But that's all right. It's a darker bottle than I had anticipated, but that's fine. I might do a little bit more green in here for these stems. So I actually think that that's quite successful in terms of a nice little card to make for your mom or my mom for Mother's Day. So here was the original. And here was the one that I just painted. Something that I like to do is calligraphy. And so in using a heart, which is another way to use the simple shape of a heart, I cut a larger heart out of this piece of paper. And what it leaves me is the heart, and it leaves me the shape of a heart. And then when I letter something for a card, I can letter inside that opening and know that I can paint there and it's going to fit on my card. So what you can see here is that I lettered the words thank you with my micron pen and drew the heart around it. It is cut to fit a regular size card envelope. So I looked at those first to make sure. And now, because that paint is permanent, I can actually paint that heart in color on this card. So that's what I will now do. So I'm going to just do this as a wet on wet. So I don't know if you can see that I am just wetting the whole shape of the heart with my brush. Try to do it with, this is where I would use this largest brush because I can do that a little bit faster. It holds a lot of water and it really will keep the paint just inside the lines where I put the water. I don't want the paint to be leaking out beyond the heart, and I want to keep a nice line as to where I drew the outside shape with my pencil. it might be hard to see that pencil line because after I drew it, I did erase it as much as I could and still see it there. So it looks quite wet to me. I can see the shine, and I'm going to, since I have a lot of pink over here, I'm going to start dropping some of this pink on here. Do you see that if you drop your pigment on this 140 weight paper, it will start to bleed on its own and start to do its own thing. So maybe I'll put a little bit that's lighter pink. Maybe I'll take some of this purple that I made such a big lump of purple on my palette, and maybe I'll add some purple over here. And see if it bleeds out there into the heart. And I can even take some blue. So this is certainly something that's very easy to do. You don't have to be an expert in color washes or wet on wet or dry on dry. This is very, very wet on wet, as you can see. But you see how it's becoming very pretty. And what I really like is that you can do your lettering first. Get some more pink in here, maybe add some more of that blue. And it can be quite effective. So what you could do is you could play with this for a long time. You could dry it, you could add some more paint, or you could be satisfied with the look of it. You could say, oh, that's just the way I want it to look. Let me wash that brush off and grab my heat gun again and see, what does it look like when it's dry? This was so wet, it's even taking a while to dry. So what a nice card to give to someone who has done so much for us. Maybe the person that you see when you go to the supermarket, maybe your mail delivery person, they're working really hard these days. Maybe you'd like to send this to the local hospital. These are all people that deserve our thanks right now. So think about who you might want to thank and who you might want to send a thank you card to like that. So keep in mind, I'm working on some future programs. This is a little tutorial that I took online that we could do. If we did hearts today, we might do flowers on another day. You want to do something real simple and easy. This was a kids program that I thought was really cool on Pinterest. We've had some transparency videos that I've done. In the past, I've done galaxy classes before, and galaxy classes are really fun because you get to spatter paint when you do that. I've even done one with a snow scene in it. Also, lately I've tried something was the bouquet way of doing some work. So as you can see, these heart shapes are standing on top of this painting. So know that there are other options for doing watercolors in another class. These were bookmarks. So I hope that we might be able to do this on another day. I hope that my camera will work for me properly when I do it on another day, and that we don't have all of these issues and you'll be able to comment. For some reason, the comments were not enabled on this viewing. I'm sorry that happened, but I'm forged ahead, and I hope you took a chance to watch. And so as I always say, be safe, be careful, and we miss you at the library. Check out Hoopla. There's meditation music there and videos too that will help you do yoga and meditation
at home besides your watercoloring. Thanks a lot. See you next Thursday for the folded book heart. So remember to bring a book or just take notes. I'll give you full instructions on how to make this at home. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.